Well, joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News, Tundun, Victoria, MKU, Abiola. Good morning,
well, I've been sitting here the whole time. So here I go again with another failed impersonation of Mr. Fenny.
Even he's watching you.
I'm going to start with This Day, Nigeria's newspaper of records, according to Mr. Fenny. House stands up to AGF, insists on power to summon president. ACF, Afenifere Ohaneze, Pandev, criticized Buhari for ignoring invitation. Agbakoba, Utomi, Kuka, 43 others demand service chief's resignation. Above the masthead, CBN boosts market liquidity with 4.1 trillion naira special bills, unveils new capital requirement for payment service providers, Emefiele lists ABP achievements. World Bank considers states 1.5 billion naira loan request next week, and 20 designers walk Arise Fashion Week runway today. Borotai, others self-isolate as COVID-19 scare hits army. Now to The Guardian. Lagos-Ibadan rail service is costly, unfriendly takeoff. Nigerians decry high fares. Take a ride before you complain, NRC reacts. Government should consider social benefits, LCCI. National Assembly versus Buhari. Nigerian Constitution on trial, lawyers insist. AGF did not act in good faith, says SAN. Failure to appear will breach constitutional provisions. Malami is correct. Another lawyer counters. Minister's advice will ridicule you. Reps caucus tells Buhari. House leadership says it can't compel Buhari. PDP can't decide on 2023 now, Secondus declares. To The Punch. Poor Nigerians will reach 100 million by 2022, World Bank. That's above the masthead, but that's the first place my eye went to on The Punch. That is staggering. The main headline there, states cash crunch worsens. NLC opposes borrowing pension funds. Labour vows to mobilize workers against planned borrowing of 17 trillion from pension funds. State governments took loans to pay local government workers November salaries, Kwara governor. Only 6 states fully implementing 30,000 naira minimum wage, local government workers, teachers worst hit. And that show of shame we referred to earlier, court adjoins sitting as minor slumps, son arrested. Nigeria's debt getting out of control, says El Rufai. No kidding. Now to the Daily Sun. 300,884 Nigerians are refugees in Chad, Cameroon, UNHCR. 200,000 from Borno, says Governor Zulum. Police smash kidnap syndicate, NAB 5 in Aba. Good news for once. Religious freedom, U.S. defense blacklisting Nigeria. Federal government not doing enough to fight Boko Haram. Police lawmakers differ as burglars steal Ogun Assembly mace. Daily Trust reminding us that it's 2,424 days since the Chibok schoolgirls were abducted. COVID-19 spike. General Irefin dies. Borotai senior officers in isolation. Federal government accuses religious leaders of making gatherings breeding grounds. Second wave looms. Health Minister El Rufai threatens lockdown. Gunmen kill 16 Kano travelers along Abuja-Kaduna Highway. Police parade kidnappers of rescued American citizen. Lagos New Airport Terminal ready on Friday. And they also have that story of Minor collapsing in court and his fleeing son being arrested. The Vanguard. Anguish as gunmen kill 16 on Abuja-Kaduna Road. Ganduje rains curses, says killings devastating, frustrating. APC youth leader, district head, 2 others kidnapped in Niger State. Police arrest 2 suspected kidnappers of rescued U.S. citizens. I'm sure one of you want to tell me how raining curses is a crime prevention tactic. Riots as police kill tricycle rider over 100 naira bribe in Rivers. Police brutality continues. CBN rolls out new license regime for payment systems. Reuters brought us that story earlier. Daily Independent. How Tinubu was schemed out in battle for soul of APC. Party postpones nationwide membership registration. Governor May Malabuni, others to be inaugurated today. Federal government fears second wave, asks COVID-19 isolation centers to reopen. Army general dies from coronavirus in Abuja. And the issue with National Assembly and Buhari, we have powers to invite Buhari, reps tell Malami. Daily Times, World Bank ties growth to bold reforms in Nigeria. House explains invitation as PDP flays Buhari over insecurity. That story will not go away. New Telegraph, panic in army as general dies of COVID-19 in Abuja. Buratai, principal staff officers, commanders go into isolation. Chief of Army Staff confab cancelled. Army chief bars officers from son's wedding. Reps to Buhari, ignore Malami, honor our invitation. Spokesman, we still have confidence in the president's integrity. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one who's still holding out hope, because this will just be so embarrassing if he doesn't turn up. And I do resent the use of the word summons being used interchangeably with invitation, although to some extent it's neither here nor there, should be ignored. But people should stop using that word summons, because we recall, don't we, that the Speaker of the House of Reps went to invite the president personally and was extremely respectful to the point of being ingratiating. You will recall that he also said it's up to the president to decide the date. Since when does a summons allow the person being summoned to pick the date? It was clearly an invitation, not a summons. And PDP here, seconders saying they can't decide on 2023 now, and the story says that Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State is on a fact-finding mission to talk about how come PDP lost the last election in 2019. You'll recall that I tried to raise the issue of PDP's underperformance with our guest yesterday, Mr. Ologbode, and he decided to mimic me, bizarrely, rather than answer the question. Anyway, gentlemen, do go ahead, completely unhinged behavior.
I want to chew on this Lagos about a rail service first. Costly, unfriendly takeoff. I have a lot of quibbles with it. Number one will be the cost. And I know the project might have cost a lot, but also there's a clear indication that it must make economic sense. What are the costs, the breakdown? If you have to take a bus in a fair market from Lagos to Ibadan, you pay about 1,500 naira. That's a bus. If you're to go in your fuel, in your car, it depends on the amount of fuel you'll use, but give or take, that's less than 120 kilometers. And most cars these days, due to fuel economy, they can conveniently do 6.5 liters or 4 liters for every 100 kilometers. So give or take, you won't use up to 15 liters of fuel. Even less than that. Then juxtapose that with the cost of, if you want to have a standard or a first-class seat, 6,000 naira one way. Then you spend another 6,000 naira coming back. Economy class, 3,000 naira. You look and say, what is the average earning of somebody that applies Lagos-Ibadan Expressway? Even the person is a trader.
This is the issue.
What's the average earning? And it has to be said, everywhere in the world, you don't really make off a lot of money from the railway tickets. You make up money from cargo and some other things on the rail. That's why, as you know very well, Transfer for London, most of the tickets are, to a good measure subsidized, although I will still say the rail tickets in England are more expensive than other parts of the world. But let me use France as a good example, SNCF. You'll see that to a large extent it's subsidized. The daily rider in Paris is about 2 or 3 euros. And you can pretty much go to most parts. You can go to, from wherever you are, go from Ivry-sur-Seine to Gare du Nord to Bibliothèque François Mitterrand. You would see that there's a level of subsidy for this, and if you are going to run it. But for me, I think it's too high, the cost to start with. And the reaction that waits till you start to see it, we've seen it already now. We've seen the broken down trains. You can't even give me very firm assurance that we will not have an incident of where the train will break down from this Lagos to Ibadan. So you are charging me that amount. Also, I think we need to look at it critically. And despite the fact that you're charging that high amount, it's still being subsidized. Because look at the Kaduna to Abuja rail line. It's still heavily subsidized. The government still does are close to about 100 million every month to meet them halfway on the subsidy. So we need to find a plan of how to break even.
Well, I think it's as follows. One, I think it's a very good development that eventually the federal government has been able to deliver the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. You know, one of the major concerns has been the fact that traveling between these two major commercial hubs in the western region, in the western part of Nigeria, has been a nightmare, particularly given the condition of the roads. So now the people living between Lagos and Ibadan will now have an opportunity, an alternative route that they can use. You also have the Abeokuta to Ibadan rail line, which is also on track. Now, this is a double-track standard gauge line, which we're told is the first in West Africa. So there's also another achievement in that regard. But the problem, really, is that what has been done does not meet the expectations of the people. The only consolation is that what has been announced, what is being played out now, is a test run. The actual launch is in January. So our expectation is that, you know, the Ministry of Transportation and the federal government of Nigeria and the Chinese company, the CCEC, that is in charge, will take this feedback and work with the feedback. What are the people's expectations? Yes, Lagos-Ibadan. Some people were even saying, oh, now that you have Lagos-Ibadan rail line, you can even live in Ibadan and work in Lagos and go back at home. And that's partly the reason why the high cost is a source of concern. If you travel by road between Lagos and Ibadan or vice versa, you pay 1,500. Yeah. Now the rail line, economy is 3,000. Yeah. Business class is 5,000. First class is 6,000. So if you look at a person who lives in Ibadan, who works in Lagos, who wants to commute for 2 hours, I think 2 hours looks long to me.
It does.
Then it means on a daily basis you spend 6,000. And your minimum wage is 30,000. So I think government can take a second look at that. If you go from Abeokuta to Ibadan, it's 2,000 for business class, it's 600 naira for economy. So I guess people living between Lagos and Ibadan will prefer to pay 600. But this was built with a loan of $1.5 billion. So the federal government of Nigeria is also under pressure to recoup the investment. But I just hope that, you know, all of these feedbacks that are coming from the public will be part of the plans for the eventual launch in January. One more point, people have also complained about access to the terminals. Now, why should access to the terminals be so difficult? If you have done Lagos-Ibadan rail line, then people should be able to access the terminals with minimal discomfort. The third issue that the federal government needs to also express concern about and focus on is security. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway or Lagos-Ibadan rail line, we will not expect that we also have a kind of situation we have along the Abuja-Kaduna rail line, where the trains break down. We hope these new trains will not break down from January. We also hope that enough effort will be directed towards security issues to make sure that the people who see this as a major economic development would have the confidence in what the federal government has done, which in principle is a laudable achievement.